Hi, my name's Saro Varjabedian, and welcome to the first episode of Coffee, Matcha, and Soul.
Hey,
Here at Coffee, Matcha, and Soul, the goal of this series is going to be to create a space for open, safe discussions that will hopefully lead us to better understanding ourselves, humanity, the universe, life, all these big questions that we always talk about and just want to learn more about. So on this pilot episode, I'm sitting here with my very close friends and colleagues, Guillermo Iván, Zair Montes, and I'll let each of you introduce yourselves.
ladies first.
Well, my name is Zair Montes. I'm an actress, producer, and I'm always curious about learning new ideas, new concepts, understanding what's a soul, understanding coffee, matcha, and all the secrets of the universe and life. So let's see what we come up with.
And I'm Guillermo Iván. I'm also an actor. I'm a producer. I'm a director. I'm a writer. I'm a creative person, as you can tell. And I would say that one of the reasons why we're doing this is because, the three of us, we are always intrigued about subjects like the soul. What is the soul? What's behind the flesh, or what's underneath the flesh, if there is an above and below, or not, maybe, what is the soul, what is the energy, you know what is in there for us, what is life, why are we here, right? So I mean, Sarah's going to get into that, but maybe one of the things I can share, and I think that we should talk about that too, is that, you know this is we're doing this openly to share with you, because this is what we do in real life. This is what we do almost every weekend, right?
Right.
I mean, Sarah will come, we'll have coffee and matcha, and we will start questioning ourselves about life, and the soul, and the source, and why are we doing what we're doing, and
Science.
science
Yeah.
as well. We're always trying to understand what is the bridge between science and, the non-scientific explanation that we, give sometimes to some phenomena.
Yeah.
And what a better space than opening this with you, all of you.
So to introduce myself, I'm a filmmaker. I primarily did a lot of cinematography, director, writer, and I write a blog called An Agnostic Approach, and trying to write more about these types of topics. But because we've been working together for so long, because we're such good friends, and as Guy would say, we would get together once a week, dinner, and just get into these really deep conversations. And we're like, well, why don't we share this, right?
Yeah.
Share this, and this way also create an opportunity for us to learn. We're going to invite guests eventually.
Yeah.
And we can learn.
And have an open conversation with the audience as well,
Yeah.
because that was the whole purpose. Like, we want to have your input as well. We want to hear what you think. We want to hear we want to read your comments as well. So the more you can just share with us, based on the conversations we're having, even sometimes suggest a new subject,
Right.
so we can actually just open that conversation. I love the way you introduced the show. This is an open space, a safe space, you say.
Yeah.
It's because that's exactly what it is. Now we can talk about anything.
Yeah.
Really,
and
anything.
what's beautiful about like what's happening in our encounters as friends, having matcha and coffee, is that we agree to disagree. Like, we not always have the same approach, and it's beautiful to be able to get along and to understand the other's perspective, and even trying to understand why do you think this way, which is totally opposed to mine. And sometimes we agree in certain aspects, and then we understand humanity because we are so diverse, and we're so different, and we see the world in a different way.
Right.
And how we can all together share the same space, being so different and so alike at the same time, because those contradictions happen not only like, and I think it happens with your friends and with your family, and it happens with us, and it's beautiful how we can evolve from conversations and
Well, right.
and discussions.
If the space is open, if it's a dialogue with respect, and
Yeah.
everyone's going to have different perspectives, right? Then we can actually start learning something from each other and from the guests, which I'm really excited about, to start bringing guests on and learning on topics that we talk about and the audience may suggest, and that'll be amazing for us as well as hopefully the audience.
100%. We're opening the space so we can actually share the different opinions that we have, the different perspectives that we have, and compare and discuss,
Yeah.
and and walk away with something new, because life is just that. Life should be that. Otherwise, if we have a fixed mind, then what is out there to be
Yeah.
learned,
Right.
right? Especially, I have to say, the last year, one of the common denominators that we have had in our conversations has been, what is the soul,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
What
Right.
is the soul? And
Right.
and actually, I want to bring that subject here to the table, maybe as the first subject that we
Yeah.
can discuss. How do we interpret the soul?
Yeah.
What is the soul for you? What is the
Right.
soul for you?
Right.
What is the soul for me? And I think, and once again, this is and this is one of the reasons why I love having these conversations anytime we have an opportunity, because our definition, it's always our definition. It's not being influenced by any religion, any movement, any, whatever. It's whatever you, Saro, believe the soul is, whatever you, Zair, believe is not even what you have read.
Right.
Not even what somebody has told you. It's how do you, define that thing? How do you define the soul?
Right, right. So, okay, I'll push back on one thing,
Okay.
and it's not a big pushback, but I think like how we come to this, I mean, how you think about something is going to change throughout your life.
Yeah.
And it changes as you get more information. How you start to think about the soul is by the information you're taught as a child. And so if you do come from
Yeah.
a certain religion, you're thinking about it in one way.
Mhm.
And then as you start getting other perspectives, it broadens it. And so where I'm at right now in terms of my thinking about the soul, um, I was thinking about this quite a bit. I'm kind of now in this place where, and I should say, so I'm an agnostic, very agnostic, but I consider myself a spiritual agnostic.
Mm.
So what that means is that I do believe there probably is a God. I do believe there's possibly a soul, but I like to think of it in the context of science. I like
Mhm.
data to back up what I think,
Mhm. Mhm.
So in terms of my idea of the soul, I think it must be tethered to the body actually. And
Mm.
I think it's this combination between genetics and epigenetics.
Mhm.
There was this really fascinating article I was reading about in epigenetics, and basically epigenetics is how your cells process the DNA, how it interprets the
Mhm.
DNA. And so throughout your life, as things happen, as you make choices,
Mhm.
your body changes, your mind changes. As a result, the DNA never changes, but
Mhm.
how your body transforms over time
Mhm.
changes because of epigenetics.
Mhm.
And so I think one way to think about the soul is this play between genetics and epigenetics. And then there's this idea of quantum mechanics and maybe, because we think of the soul normally, and I'm thinking about like in traditional religious things, the soul as this like energy or this life force. So there's theories now that with quantum mechanics, maybe that consciousness partly occurs on a quantum level. And so could that be the energy that we're talking about that makes up the soul? I don't have the answers, honestly,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I do see, so I like to be more grounded in the possibility that maybe it is something between genetics and epigenetics and maybe this quantum mechanics. And so,
And I think a lot of people in the audience will agree with you in the sense that they need like some science backing the
Backing
thinking
everything, yeah.
process of things that are not tangible or that you cannot explain or find or measure, right? Some people need information to believe or to set up a belief system about something like the soul, like something so intangible and non-real, right? In my personal case, I I am not religious at all, very far away from that. I'm spiritual, but I did grow up in a religious context in a household that was religious. So I went to church when I was a kid, and I had to kind of like transform or basically change my approach to what was the soul, like to take it away from the religious standpoint, become like totally the opposite, and then coming to terms with there is a soul, there is a spirit, and for certain people and for certain religions, spirit is one thing, the soul is a different thing. So that's another
Ooh,
subject to talk about.
really?
But for now, I do believe that the soul is eternal. Like somehow it could be part of the general collective consciousness
Mm.
or whatever transcends when we die, right? Like the
Okay.
physical bodies are like left in the
Right.
earth, but the soul is part of that energy that is connected to something greater. Some people might call it God, and so some people might call it the universe, the quantum. But I do believe that there is something beyond this physical universe and this physical body. And I think our souls are part of that something that is beyond the physical universe and the
Great.
physical body.
And
I'll
that
come
was
back to that,
that was
but-
one of the questions that I have for you, because
Well, and Guillermo, did you tell us about what?
no, and I will get there.
okay.
But one of the questions I have for you before I give you my definition of the soul is, so what you're saying basically is that the way you define soul always goes in tandem to the matter, to the body in a way. Am I right?
Yes, I'd like to see if I could find a link that's grounded in some sort of physical process. So
Right.
if that physical process is quantum mechanics, well,
Yeah.
then that's something physical that we can like track, right?
Well,
But what about when you die? Like, do you
that was
think
one of the questions.
that
That was one of the
soul
questions.
transcends, like energy changes,
But
or
but here's, I know that we're bombarding you right now with a
Go
lot of
for it, go
questions.
for it, go for it. Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
but it there's a dichotomy here, because it's really interesting. I agree to a certain level, and I disagree to a certain level
Yeah.
as well, because I I am in agreement with you in the sense that there is no separation between matter and energy.
Right.
I think that, one of the biggest debates that we have had as humanity is trying to understand source and matter in two different, completely different
Right,
fields,
right.
when it shouldn't be that
It's all
way.
connected.
It's all connected.
Right.
And I think that physics and, the ultimate idea of quantum and quantum physics and quantum mechanics is suggesting the fact that there is no disconnection.
Right.
The idea of the dualism, right?
Yeah.
The deterministic dualism, right? Trying to separate brain from mind, or the body
Right.
from the mind,
Right.
is over. I mean,
Yes.
we just can't. We cannot say one thing is this is
Yeah.
matter and this is energy.
yeah.
So to that extent, I agree with you. Here is where I have a disagreement, because I think, as Zair was saying, that one of the biggest question marks that we have as human beings is, what happens when we die?
Right.
What happens when we
Right.
depart?
Right.
Is the soul dissipated to the void?
Yeah.
It just goes away. It becomes part of the collective consciousness, or not. So that's where I have a lot of question marks. And look, most of those questions are never going to be answered. At least that's my perspective. they will trigger scientific
Yeah.
explanations. And that's how we have been evolving in new discoveries, you know, because we even, you know, like, as you know, the Greeks used to say, like, the real motivation or inspiration of any philosopher is questioning, questioning, questioning.
Right.
Stay
Right.
curious.
Right.
We need to try to understand
Absolutely.
something that we're never gonna get to understand.
Yeah.
So
I actually kind of disagree with you. I
Yeah.
think eventually we may actually get to understanding. It may not be in our lifetime,
mhm.
but as
After we die.
it will be after. Well, yeah, you're right. You mean when the soul
Yeah,
goes
right,
and we're
right,
like,
right.
oh, I'm here, and
Yeah, yeah.
And
We
I'll
can
get
do a
back to
podcast over there too.
that. Well, maybe we
Yeah.
can beam it down or something. But in terms of will we get there? Will we ever? I actually think that we might be able to get to a place of understanding, greater understanding in the future. Maybe we won't be able to answer everything,
Yeah.
but I actually believe that in time, like through science, we'll have a lot more of the answers solved. Just might not be in our lifetime. And then
Here's see, I mean, this, I'm loving this. I'm loving this because this, by the way, you guys, this is what happens every time Sarah comes for dinner or we're having coffee and matcha. We're always having this, you know, this kind of debate. I have a disagreement with you, and let me tell you why. Because here's the thing. And again, I know that you're an agnostic. I know that you love science.
Mhm.
I love science
Mhm.
myself, and I'm always trying to find the data that sustains or, you know, creates the structure to better understanding of everything, life, the universe, psychology, and, you know, and I love getting deeper into it. However, let's all remember something.
Yeah.
And please, do not take this the wrong way. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say it. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about them. You know,
Okay,
you
okay.
guys watching us. I'm gonna dare to say this, and I'm saying it to all due respect and admiration for science and all the scientists. Let's remember that science, as a matter of fact, as a subject of study, was created by us, by humanity, less than, as a school, as academia,
Yeah.
was actually founded less than 500 years ago. And the reason why we created, you know, science, you know, before, it was just philosophy. It was just philosophy.
Which you
We,
could
we, we
say,
have philosophers, or we have, but really it was like, I would say, after the Renaissance, with
okay,
people, Newton, you know,
yes,
all those guys question, you know, uh, trying to understand science and creating academia, when we actually came up with the idea of science. And science gives an explanation of phenomena, right? It's how we constantly explain the
nature.
unknown.
We're trying to understand nature.
We're
Trying to
trying
make
to understand
right,
nature.
right.
However, the moment, this is where I have a disagreement. The moment we have a complete understanding of
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
what is out there to be unknown? You know what I'm saying? Because we have been given explanations to everything, but there's always something new. There's always a new discovery on every ramification of science. You know, it
Yeah.
has happening in physics, in, you know, even mathematics. You know, like, there is always something new
Yeah.
that we
Sure.
question.
Yeah.
That we question.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So going
Yeah, but
back,
I do believe that there is like now we have more understanding of things that we wouldn't understand uh 20, 30 years
Yeah.
from
Just a
now.
few
Yeah.
Like
years
if I
ago.
talk to my grandmother
Oh yeah.
about these subjects, like the idea of a quantum like
Yeah.
a phenomena
Yeah.
would be like completely
Yeah.
you're out of your mind,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So now we are more open to like even in religions,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they are more open to adapt the scientific world and the explorations and the things that we have come up to discover with their like belief systems and
Yeah.
with what their Bible or their books say, right? So I understand your point and I agree with it. I think also it would be boring for the human species to figure out everything and have the answer to everything. There wouldn't be any reason to be here in this
Yeah.
world. But I understand his point in the sense that now we can talk about these subjects and we cannot and we don't have to like run away and feel like we're like that I'm the witch because I'm thinking differently and like that he's a hippie or like he's like cuckoo because
Yeah.
he's mixing like the soul and the Buddha traditions with their prayers to God and the Virgin and like the whole spectrum fits into one bag, so to put it that way, and that's thanks to so many discoveries that we have encountered, even like studying ancient civilizations and indigenous people. How are we turning back
Epigenetics, even epigenetics. I mean,
epigenetics?
20
Yeah,
years ago,
Wasn't a
exactly.
thing.
it was
Exactly.
a
Nothing.
subject that was completely
Yeah.
banned
Yeah.
of the scientific
Yeah.
Now
community.
you can
Nothing.
say that you can even heal yourself with other tools
Yeah.
outside of like traditional Western medicine.
Yeah.
People might like receive it more openly, but if you would have said that 10 years ago in a Western society like ours,
Yeah.
that would be insane,
Right,
Yeah.
right?
right. Like
So
acupuncture or
yeah,
some of these other
exactly.
things that
Yeah.
are
Even the
now being
practice
more
of
open.
yoga. I
Or
mean,
Yeah,
like 25
meditation.
meditation.
Right.
Like, look at what, has been happening the last, I would say 10, 20 years,
Yeah.
like I feel grateful that our society in the Western world has been opening up so much and trying to understand the phenomena, because again, it comes down to the same point. I don't think we can separate science no more from,
No.
non-scientific phenomena.
Right.
There's always a connection. Something as simple as meditation. What is meditate? What happens when we meditate?
Right.
Well, now you have people measuring the waves, the brain waves.
Right.
Now you have,
and they have real data showing the
Yes.
actual physical
Yeah.
changes that occur to the body and why it's beneficial. And as Zaire pointed out, 10 or 20 years ago, you would be considered, like Zaire said, like
The
cuckoo,
woo-woo.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like you're like a kind of a hippie to say meditation could be good for your physical body. But science is now backing that up. And also to Zaire's point, and why I think we may actually get to a place of understanding what the soul could be from a scientific perspective is that you're absolutely right that maybe, and I was going to say, I think science maybe started with the Greek philosophers 2,000 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Because they started Pythagorean
Yeah.
theorem. And
True.
so they were philosophers, but they were trying to make sense of the world. So, but let's say 500 years ago, when we really started, discoveries were still happening every 100 years. Now we're at a place where we're getting like 3 new major discoveries a week. And so it's accelerating so quick.
Yeah.
And with AI, with computers, like that technology is going to keep. So I'm just saying it may not even be us that figures it out. It might be the robots that we create in the future that replaces us. I mean, I don't want to get too. But
you see, I mean, now we're bringing new subjects as well for future episodes because there are so many things to discuss and to really try to understand. Like, one of the questions I have, I mean, first of all, we were talking about the soul. What is the soul?
Back to the soul.
So,
and what
I
actually you
haven't
didn't tell
given
us.
my
Please,
definition of the soul. So, I think that, again, been trying to understand, and this is one of the questions that have been driven my life, especially as an artist, I would say, because I always, I remember when I was a kid, my father is a painter. He he painted this beautiful artwork that we have here. And I remember when I was a kid and I would sneak into his studio and witness the way he was creating, right? And to me, the way I remember that was like a medium, like a sort of medium, just channeling something through his vessel, right? Just bringing that whatever thing that was happening in his, not even in his mind, his body, and just putting that in out there in the canvas. So, and I was always, and then my mom was into music, right? So I remember when I was a kid having those beautiful gatherings with all their friends, and that was maybe the inception of what we do anytime we have a gathering with friends and whatever, right? And she was a big fan of soul music,
Okay.
right? And I was like, from back there, I was thinking, what is that thing that they called soul? And I was, I'm just like you. I don't follow any religion. I grew up in Catholicism because that was in when I was living in Mexico and then in
Yeah.
Cuba and whatever. But I never attached my beliefs or my to any religion because
Yeah.
I had the fortune to be raised in this environment of artists who would see the world completely different, and they didn't force me to any of that, right? But I was intrigued by the creative process, and I was always thinking, what makes a painting of my father different from Kandinsky or from Picasso or from any other painter? Is not the technique, is not, it's whatever he has inside of him,
Okay.
whatever he's bringing, whatever he is connected with. And funny enough, when my mom introduced me to soul singers, right? And I remember like the first time I saw Ray Charles, right? And he was mixing jazz with blues with,
Yeah.
you know, church kind of music, and I would see him and I would see the same thing that I remember seeing with my father, someone who was channeling something,
Okay.
right? And I was so intrigued. I was like, what is that? What is that? Then, as an artist, I've been trying to understand more of what is that thing that we call the mind. What is that thing that we call consciousness, or and or slash and
Yeah.
subconsciousness?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What is that thing that we call the soul, and what is that thing? What is the difference between the soul and the spirit, as she was
Yeah, I
mentioning?
want to get on that if we have time.
Yeah, so what is all of that? I don't have an explanation, but the way I can explain it to
Yeah.
myself is that, as Einstein said, there is matter and there is energy, and we transform from matter into energy and vice versa. Then that means there is a bridge. There is a constant communication between, the matter, and the energy that goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, the soul is
Yeah.
that energy that sustains
Right.
the body, and the body that could be created.
Right.
For instance, in painting, we're not just seeing the painting. We're not just seeing the canvas,
Yeah.
the piece of fabric and the wood that's
Yeah.
sustaining that painting, right? We're not just seeing the colors. We're seeing something else. When
Yeah.
we're listening to that music, why is it that something resonates differently? What is it that we can see someone and connect to that person's energy?
Yeah.
What is that? What's that thing attracting us to something?
So to you, the soul is the energy of the person.
Some spiritual energy or
I think that, yes.
essence
I mean,
or
the soul is the way I would explain it. This is, and again, you guys can kill me if you want. You please leave me your comments, leave us your comments, because I want to hear it and I want to learn from all of you. But to me, the soul, yes, it is the energy that it's individual, It's that thing that makes us be who we are. The spirit, to me, is the connectivity that we have with the oneness.
That's
Okay.
a Catholic approach.
Not really.
No, yeah.
No, not
I
really.
just read it today.
No, but
Between soul and spirit,
Uh-huh.
the soul is related to your persona and to your own body,
Okay. And
and the spirit
is
is what, like, to the
the idea of the Trinity. The Trinity, it's exactly what you're talking
no,
about.
and the spirit is just like what
goes back
transcends.
to
Yeah,
what transcends back to.
yeah.
So that's interesting. And Zair, because I wonder if we're all saying a little bit of the same thing. And I'm going to bring it back to what I said about quantum, and because maybe how I use the word quantum, and you're thinking about spirit or energy that's going back up. And I'll tell you I'll tell you how I'm tying this together. But Zair, you had said that you imagine the soul goes into the, let's say, the one, the source, the
Yeah.
universe,
Yeah.
right? And you're sort of saying the same thing, Guillermo, right? Like the soul or the spirit does
It's the
return,
energy,
the
yeah.
energy returns back to the universe, God, or the everything,
Mhm.
right? And Buddhism has this idea that your soul or spirit returns to the source, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just saying, using quantum,
Yeah.
because if quantum's a type of energy,
Mhm.
and there's this theory that perhaps the universe itself, because on a quantum level has its own consciousness,
Yeah.
maybe that quantum energy within us returns to the quantum source of the
Yeah.
universe.
Mhm.
And so we might be saying the same thing, just using different
Yeah,
words.
well,
Yeah.
I was actually about to get into that because the reason why I said no is not is not just a Catholic idea. Is because when you really pay attention to what's going on right now in terms of science, the one of the newest theses in science, is the fact that consciousness could be fundamental, just like time.
Yeah.
It's something that
I've read that
it
too.
has
Yeah.
always been there.
Yeah.
And the only difference that we have between the fundamental consciousness and the way we receive that information
Yeah.
is as Carl Jung used to say, individuality,
Individual. Yeah.
your individual experience. And so your individual experience would be, to me, that would be the soul, and the spirit would be that
Return to the
that
thing.
fundamental consciousness
Okay.
that lives there, has always been there, but and we have access to it, right? We have access to it, we're connected to that thing somehow, but just in this experience we are accessing through that thing that we call the soul.
Okay.
That's the way I would explain it.
Well, thank you, because I didn't know that there was a difference between soul and spirits. To me, I thought it's one and the same, just
I mean,
different
we
words.
don't really know if there is
Yeah.
a difference or if just a way to. I think we're trying to understand
sense.
it and make sense of it the
Yeah,
best we can. Because then, to that regard, and I love the definition, but to that regard, then, so what happens when you die? So with that soul, because it's not because the spirit, the collective consciousness is right there, like the God,
Yeah.
the source is right there, but being your soul, like your individuality, how is the source coming back to the soul coming back to that source? But I think it's a lot to cut, and
Yeah.
because we don't have the answers,
Yeah, right.
we are gonna bring real
Yes,
people that
yes.
will
Yeah,
have
yeah,
real
yeah.
Yeah.
answers,
Yeah.
and that will help be able to teach us something new. And in that
Right.
regard, we have a list of guests that are coming to the show every week, and we'll
Yeah.
pick up their minds.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
it's as I have been saying, to all the way to the end, like, please, please, please leave the comment, leave your impression, share with us whatever idea you have, because then we can also bring that to the
Yeah.
next episode, to
Yeah.
next week,
Absolutely.
and we can start questioning ourselves as well.
Yeah.
And we can bring that in front of any new guest that we may have. So yeah, here's something that I also want to share with the audience, because we do this all the time in our conversations. Quickly, 3 words that would define the soul in your perspective.
I would say a life force, uh, a fundamental self, your essential self, fundamental. And I would say something that is the culmination of mind and body coming together. So it's the culmination of the person, who they
But
are
those
in
are
total.
too many
I know,
words.
Too
I
many
know.
words.
It's just
One
three
word,
words.
three
fine.
words.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
That's
try 3 words. Self, energy, and
Fundamental.
quantum.
quantum. Wow.
Unknown, understanding, force.
I would go for source. I love the idea of source. Energy, for sure. And I would say flow is that thing that's
Right.
flowing inside
Right.
of us. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good,
Good.
good, good.
Yeah.
It's been
We'll see.
great.
We'll see. Yeah, this was
Yeah.
great. I can't wait for
Yeah.
the next episode.
Yeah.
I can't wait to bring some guests on, and can't wait for what we're going to learn.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Yes. You want more matcha and coffee?
Come visit.
Yeah, I'm almost done.